Have you ever walked out to your garden, absolutely thrilled to see your cucumber vines covered in a massive explosion of bright yellow flowers, only to realize a week later that there is not a single cucumber growing? It is one of the most frustrating things a gardener can experience. Today we are diving deep into the urgent problem of barren flowers, and I am going to share the ultimate secret to getting rid of them for good. I promise you, by the end of this video, you will know exactly how to flip a biological switch in your plants that forces them to produce a massive, unstoppable harvest. But let me ask you a controversial question first. Have you been plucking those empty flowers off your vines, thinking it helps the plant? Let me know in the comments right now, because you might be making a critical mistake. Stick around, because we are about to uncover the real truth. Before we can fix the problem, we need to understand exactly what is happening on those vines. In the world of botany, cucumbers are fascinating because they produce both male and female flowers on the exact same plant. The male flowers are what we typically call barren flowers. They show up first, they bloom brightly, and their only job in the universe is to provide pollen. They will never, ever turn into a cucumber. The female flowers arrive a little later, and they are the ones that actually swell up and become the fruit we want to eat. Under perfect conditions, nature balances this beautifully. But when your cucumber plant gets confused, stressed, or overly pampered, it panics and starts throwing out nothing but male flowers. It is essentially the plant's way of surviving instead of reproducing. Our goal is to step in, change the environment, and tell the plant that it is time to stop goofing off and start making babies. Let us dive right into the very first thing you need to understand, which is simply telling the difference between the flowers on your vines. You might be looking at a sea of yellow petals and panicking, but knowledge is your best tool here. Male flowers, which are the ones people call barren, grow on thin, straight little stems. They are just a flower on a stick, nothing more. Their sole purpose in life is to provide pollen. Female flowers, on the other hand, are the ones that actually give you the harvest. If you look very closely, right behind the yellow petals of a female flower, you will see a tiny, miniature cucumber waiting to grow. It is essentially a baby pickle right there on the vine. A great way to picture this is to imagine the male flower holding a flag on a pole, while the female is carrying a tiny green baby. If your plant is completely covered in those thin stems with no tiny cucumbers in sight, you have a barren flower problem. But do not worry, because identifying the enemy is the first step to winning the war. Take a walk through your garden right now and inspect those stems closely. This simple observation will guide everything else we do to fix your harvest. Now, let us address a massive myth that has been circulating in the gardening community for generations. You have probably heard someone say that you need to immediately pinch off all the barren male flowers so the plant redirects its energy into making female flowers. Stop doing this right now. This is actually one of the worst things you can do to your cucumber patch. If you pull off all the male flowers, where do you think the pollen is going to come from when the female flowers finally do show up? Bees need those male flowers to gather the pollen and transfer it to the females. If you remove them, your female flowers will bloom, remain unpollinated, turn yellow, and eventually drop off the vine entirely. It is a heartbreaking sight. A great illustration of this is trying to start a fire without a spark. The female flowers are the wood, but the male flowers are the spark. You absolutely need a good number of male flowers to ensure a bountiful harvest. So leave your pruners in the shed for now. The secret to a great harvest actually begins long before you even put the seeds in the dirt. It comes down to the age of your seeds. This is a fascinating quirk of cucumber biology that many beginners completely overlook. If you take fresh seeds that were harvested just last year and plant them, the resulting vines will naturally produce a massive amount of barren male flowers. It is just how their genetics work. However, if you use seeds that are 2 to 3 years old, the plants are biologically programmed to produce significantly more female fruit-bearing flowers. It is almost like the seed realizes it is getting older and needs to reproduce quickly. If you only have fresh seeds, you can actually trick them into aging. Keep them in a warm, dry place, like near a gentle heating vent, for a couple of months before the planting season. This artificial aging process creates a noticeable shift in the plant's behavior, leading to far fewer empty vines. Speaking of warming things up, let us talk about the pre-planting temperature trick. If you did not have time to age your seeds for months, you can use a rapid warming technique. About 1 month before you plan to sow your seeds, take the seed packets and place them near a radiator or a safe heating source where the temperature stays around 75 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Do not cook them, just keep them consistently toasty. This gentle, prolonged heat treatment changes the internal chemistry of the seed. When you finally plant them, the resulting vines will have shorter internodes, which is the space between the leaves, and they will push out female blossoms much earlier in their growth cycle. Think of it like a warm-up exercise for an athlete. By waking the seeds up with heat, you are preparing them to sprint straight toward fruit production rather than casually strolling through a vegetative state filled with useless, barren flowers. Moving out into the garden, one of the biggest triggers for an explosion of male flowers is cold soil. Cucumbers are tropical plants at heart. They absolutely despise cold feet. If you rush the season and plant your seeds or seedlings into soil that is cooler than 60 degrees Fahrenheit, the roots go into a state of shock. When a cucumber plant is stressed by the cold, its survival mechanism kicks in, and it defaults to producing male flowers because they require significantly less energy to make than female fruit. To avoid this, you must be patient. Use a soil thermometer if you have to. If you live in a cooler climate, lay down some black plastic mulch over your garden beds a few weeks before planting. This acts like a giant solar panel, trapping the sun's heat and warming the soil deep down. When you finally plant your cucumbers into that nice, warm earth, they will feel safe and comfortable, which is the exact signal they need to start producing female flowers. There is another temperature mistake that ruins countless cucumber harvests every single summer, and that is watering with freezing cold water straight from the garden hose. This is an absolute disaster for your plants. Imagine taking a warm, relaxing shower and suddenly someone dumps a bucket of ice water over your head. You would tense up immediately. That is exactly what your cucumber roots do when hit with cold water. This sudden temperature drop shocks the root system, stunting the plant's growth and immediately triggering a massive flush of barren male flowers. The solution is simple, but requires a little preparation. Fill a large barrel or several dark-coloured buckets with water in the morning and leave them sitting out in the hot sun all day. By the time evening rolls around, that water will be pleasantly warm. Watering your cucumbers with this sun-warmed water keeps the root zone cozy and stable, encouraging the plant to confidently produce those baby cucumbers you are waiting for. Here is a technique that sounds totally counterintuitive, but it is an absolute game changer. I call it the drought trick. Sometimes your cucumber plants get a little too comfortable. If you are watering them perfectly every single day, they have no incentive to reproduce. They will just grow massive green leaves and endless male flowers. To snap them out of this lazy phase, you need to simulate a mild drought. Stop watering them completely for a few days. Let the top few inches of the soil dry out entirely until you see the large green leaves just barely starting to wilt in the afternoon sun. Do not let them die, but let them feel a little panic. This mild stress sends a hormonal signal through the plant that says, "Oh no, water is running out. I need to reproduce quickly before I die." The plant will suddenly switch gears and push out female flowers. As soon as you see those tiny cucumbers form, resume your normal, deep watering schedule. Another massive culprit behind barren vines is something I call the nitrogen trap. We all want healthy, lush green plants, so it is tempting to dump heavy doses of nitrogen fertilizer or raw manure onto our garden beds. While nitrogen is essential for leaf growth, too much of it will completely ruin your harvest. If a cucumber plant is overloaded with nitrogen, it will put 100% of its energy into growing gigantic, beautiful leaves and long, sprawling vines, but it will completely forget to make fruit. It will throw out male flowers just for show, but no females. If your vines look incredibly dark green, thick and wild, but have zero baby cucumbers, you are caught in the nitrogen trap. You must immediately stop using high nitrogen feeds like blood meal or fresh manure. The plant is too comfortable acting like a decorative ivy, and you need to shift its diet to force it back into production mode. To fix that nitrogen imbalance and trigger the blooms you actually want, you need to introduce the real heroes of flower production: phosphorus and potassium. These two nutrients are the absolute secret to unlocking female flowers. Phosphorus builds a massive, healthy root system, while potassium is directly responsible for flower formation and fruit development. An incredible old-fashioned way to deliver this is by using simple wood ash from your fireplace or fire pit. Wood ash is packed with potassium and beneficial trace minerals. Take about 1 cup of sifted wood ash and dissolve it in a bucket of warm water. Let it steep for a day and then use it to water the base of your plants. Alternatively, you can gently scratch a small handful of bone meal, which is rich in phosphorus, into the top layer of the soil. When the plant absorbs these specific nutrients, it shifts its internal chemistry away from making leaves and directly into creating heavy, fruit-bearing blossoms. Let us talk about the lighting in your garden, because cucumbers are absolute sun worshippers. If your plants are growing in partial shade, or if they are being overshadowed by taller crops like corn or giant tomatoes, you are going to see a huge spike in barren flowers. When a cucumber plant does not get enough direct sunlight, it stretches out, trying to reach for the light. This stretching makes the vines thin and weak. Because it is struggling just to get enough solar energy to survive, it will not waste its precious resources on growing heavy, demanding fruit. Instead, it just pops out male flowers. You need to ensure your cucumbers are getting a minimum of 8 hours of direct, blazing sunlight every single day. If they are shaded, consider carefully pruning back some of the surrounding plants to open up the canopy. A cucumber bathed in full sunlight has the energy reserves it needs to confidently push out dozens of female blossoms. One of the easiest mistakes to make when planting is putting your seeds or seedlings entirely too close together. It is so tempting to cram as many plants as possible into a small space, hoping for a bigger harvest. But overcrowding creates a highly stressful environment. The plants end up fighting a brutal underground war for water and nutrients, and above ground, they battle for sunlight. This intense competition stresses the plants, leading directly to a massive flush of male barren flowers. Furthermore, crowded plants have terrible air circulation, which invites fungal diseases that weaken the plant even more. You need to give them room to breathe. Ensure there is at least 18 to 24 inches of space between each plant if you are growing them on the ground, or about 12 inches if you are training them aggressively up a tall trellis. Giving them their personal space reduces stress and encourages a healthy balance of male and female flowers. Now let us get into the somewhat technical, but incredibly important, topic of pruning. If you are growing traditional heirloom varieties of cucumbers, you absolutely must know about the pinching technique. On these older varieties, the main central vine naturally produces almost exclusively male barren flowers. The female flowers prefer to grow on the lateral side shoots that branch off the main vine. If you just let the plant grow wild, you will get a 10-foot vine with nothing but male blossoms. The trick is to wait until the plant has developed about 5 or 6 true leaves. Then, take a clean pair of scissors and confidently snip off the very growing tip of that main stem. This forces the plant to stop growing upward and instead push out multiple side branches. These new side branches are where the magic happens, and they will quickly become loaded with female, fruit-bearing flowers. It is a simple pinch that can literally triple your harvest. However, you must pay close attention right now, because there is an exception to that pruning rule that could destroy your entire crop. If you are growing modern hybrid varieties, especially those labelled as F1 hybrids, the rules are completely flipped. Breeders have specifically designed these modern marvels to produce the majority of their female flowers directly on the main central stem. If you apply the traditional pinching method and cut off the top of a modern hybrid, you are literally cutting off your future harvest. You will stunt the plant and get very little fruit. For these varieties, you actually want to prune off the side shoots and let the main stem grow as tall as possible. This is why it is absolutely critical to read your seed packets and know exactly what type of cucumber you are growing. Never blindly prune a plant without knowing if it is an heirloom that needs pinching or a modern hybrid that needs to climb. Sometimes the problem is not that you are lacking female flowers, but rather that the female flowers appear, turn yellow, and shrivel up without ever growing into a cucumber. This is incredibly frustrating, and it is almost always a pollination issue. If you do not have enough bees and beneficial insects in your garden, the pollen from those male flowers never makes it to the female flowers. Without pollination, the plant just aborts the fruit. To fix this, you need to roll out the red carpet for pollinators. Plant brightly coloured flowers like marigolds or borage right next to your cucumber beds. If you are desperate, you can use a clever trick. Dissolve a spoonful of natural honey into a spray bottle filled with warm water and lightly mist the foliage of your cucumber plants early in the morning. The sweet scent will draw bees in from miles away, ensuring that every single female flower gets properly pollinated and grows into a massive cucumber. If you are growing your cucumbers inside a greenhouse, you face a completely different set of challenges that cause barren flowers. Greenhouses can quickly become hot, stagnant, and incredibly humid. When the humidity gets too high, the pollen inside the male flowers becomes heavy and sticky. It clumps together and cannot be easily transferred by wind or insects. Plus, bees often have a hard time finding their way into closed greenhouses. To combat this, ventilation is absolutely crucial. You must open the doors and vents early in the morning to let fresh air circulate and reduce the humidity. To help with pollination, you should walk down the rows every morning and gently shake the trellises or tap the main stems of the plants. This gentle vibration mimics the wind and helps dislodge the sticky pollen, allowing it to fall from the male flowers onto the waiting female blossoms below. It is a simple, daily chore that makes a massive difference. If you are tired of worrying about bees, pollen, and male flowers altogether, there is a modern miracle of gardening that you need to know about. They are called parthenocarpic varieties. This is a big scientific word that simply means the plant is self-pollinating and does not require male flowers or bees to produce fruit. In fact, these incredibly bred plants produce almost exclusively female flowers. Every single blossom you see will have a tiny baby cucumber behind it, and they will grow into full-sized fruit entirely on their own. Parthenocarpic cucumbers are the absolute ultimate hack for greenhouse growers, balcony gardeners, or anyone living in an area with a low bee population. If you have struggled year after year with barren vines and poor pollination, do yourself a massive favour next season and seek out seeds specifically labelled as parthenocarpic. It practically guarantees a flawless, heavy harvest with zero stress. Let us explore how wild temperature swings can completely derail your harvest. Even if you plant your cucumbers in warm soil, dramatic shifts between scorching hot days and freezing cold nights will send the plants into a severe state of shock. When the plant experiences a 30-degree drop in temperature as the sun goes down, its metabolism crashes. To protect itself from this unpredictable environment, it halts fruit production and pumps out barren male flowers instead. To stabilize the environment, you need to use thermal mass. A brilliant and cheap way to do this is to fill several dark plastic gallon jugs with water and place them tightly around the base of your cucumber plants. During the day, these jugs absorb the intense heat of the sun. At night, as the air cools, the jugs slowly release that stored heat back into the plant's microclimate, keeping the vines cozy and convincing them it is safe to produce female blossoms. Here is an advanced, secret trick often used by commercial greenhouse growers to force a massive explosion of female flowers. Carbon dioxide enrichment. Plants breathe in carbon dioxide, and cucumbers are particularly hungry for it. When the air around them is rich in carbon dioxide, their photosynthesis rate skyrockets, giving them a massive surplus of energy that they immediately pour into creating female fruit. You can replicate this effect at home using a very simple old-school method. Take a large bucket, fill it halfway with fresh grass clippings or chopped up weeds. Add a handful of manure and fill it with water. Let it sit right in the middle of your cucumber patch or greenhouse to ferment. As this nasty mixture breaks down and ferments over the next week, it slowly releases a steady, concentrated cloud of carbon dioxide directly into the leaves of your plants. It smells a bit funky, but the resulting surge in female flowers is absolutely incredible. Believe it or not, the way you harvest your cucumbers directly impacts how many new flowers the plant will produce. A cucumber plant's only goal in life is to create mature seeds to pass on its genetics. If you leave a cucumber on the vine until it becomes huge, yellow and bloated, the plant thinks its job is finally done. It has successfully created mature seeds, so it completely shuts down flower production. To keep the plant pumping out new female blossoms, you must harvest your cucumbers while they are still relatively small, green, and crisp. By constantly removing the young fruit, you are essentially frustrating the plant. It realizes it has not successfully matured any seeds yet, so it desperately pushes out a fresh wave of female flowers to try again. Check your vines every single day and pick those cucumbers early. The more aggressively you harvest, the more fiercely the plant will bloom to replace what you took. Finally, let us talk about an old-school grandmother's secret remedy that acts as a magical tonic for stubborn, barren cucumber vines. It involves raw milk and a tiny drop of iodine. This might sound crazy, but it works wonders. Mix 1 cup of raw or whole milk with 10 cups of water and add exactly 2 drops of iodine. Do not add more, or you will burn the leaves. Pour this mixture into a sprayer and coat the leaves of your plants early in the evening. The milk creates a thin, invisible film on the leaves that protects them from powdery mildew and other fungal diseases, keeping the plant stress-free. The iodine provides a powerful micronutrient boost that stimulates the plant's immune system and acts as a catalyst for blooming. This gentle organic spray keeps the foliage perfectly healthy, and a healthy, disease-free plant has the abundant energy required to stop making useless male flowers and start producing a massive, heavy yield of crisp cucumbers. And there you have it, the ultimate guide to defeating barren flowers once and for all. From understanding the vital difference between male and female blossoms to using the drought trick, manipulating soil temperatures, and mastering the exact pruning methods for your specific varieties, you now hold the secrets to an unstoppable harvest. The biggest takeaway here is that your cucumbers need the right balance. Too much comfort leads to lazy vines, while the right kind of mild stress and targeted nutrients force them into heavy production. No more empty vines, and no more waiting around for fruit that never comes. Thank you so much for watching and learning with us today. If you found these secrets helpful and are excited to transform your garden, please hit that subscribe button and smash the like button to support the channel. Do not forget to leave a comment below. What is the biggest struggle you have faced with your cucumbers this season? I would love to hear your stories and help you out in the comments.